Hello, my name is Shala Fataba. I'm part of the Islands region of the International Churches of Christ, and I'm a parent and I'm also a founder of a health tech company. Today, I will be sharing about the role of technology as a parent and in business. I hope that the things I share today can be helpful to everyone listening. So before I start, I wanted to share some very revealing statistics on women in technology. And the first is that a recent survey by the Pew Research Center found that women are 34% less likely than men to own a personal computer. The second statistic is that women make up half of all internet users worldwide, but despite that, we only account for 30% of social media users. The third statistic is that only 9% of women rate themselves as very confident in their ability to use technology. There was another statistics I didn't put on here, but I talked about how women were less than 3 times unlikely to own a mobile phone than men. And the question we want to ask ourselves is, why are we women afraid of technology? You know, technology can have a huge impact in our lives, and we are seeing the growing trend and changes in technology, but why are we not embracing it? So today what I wanted to do was, first of all, start by sharing 2 quotes from 2 women that I found really inspiring before I go on to share a quick anecdote from my life. The first quote is by Sandra Seeley, and she is a poet and author, and Hillary Clinton, who is the wife of former President of the United States. So Sandra Healy says that women have always had to be creative about making limited resources work to sustain themselves and their families. They understand what it means to make the hard decisions and to get on with it. That is why it is imperative for women not just to be the ones dusting off the table, but crafting its legs for our world to stand on. The second quote by Hillary Clinton says, "Women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world." Women, do we believe this? You know, I believe this. And I believe that we are the legs on which, we're crafting the legs on which the world stands on. I'll share this short synopsis or anecdote from my life. And I hope that this helps or resonates with many of you today. And I will start by just going through a quick timeline of my recent 10 years here in Nigeria, and how technology has played a huge part in where I am and where my family is today. So I'll start by just sharing about my life from when I got married. So I got married in 2012 to my husband, and by 2013 we had our daughter. We were elated, we were happy, we were excited to be parents, and everything was perfect. She was a perfect, beautiful baby. Fast forward 12 months later, by 2014, we realized that she was not meeting some of her development milestones. She was healthy, she was strong, but again, just not meeting some of her development milestones. So this took us on a long journey of trying to, see doctors, trying to see specialists, trying to understand what was going on. It was a very harrowing journey, traveling across the nation here in Nigeria, traveling to the US to be able to get support on healthcare and to get her diagnosed, because most of the specialists we met here in Nigeria were not able to give us a proper diagnosis. And this was a very tough time for our family, as we struggled to understand what was going on, how we could support her. And even the bigger challenge was the huge health gap in Nigeria, and not being able to get the right expertise to help us find an answer. But let me tell you something, it is during the storms in our lives that we find purpose. If we're really looking, we can find purpose in our storms. And this was a stormy period for us in our marriage, and I thank God that we were able to get through this, through a lot of prayers from friends and families, from disciples that just counseled and helped us. We're still fighting it, but we are a lot better 10 years later. By 2015, we eventually found specialists in the US that were able to properly diagnose my daughter with autism. But the next step was not just the diagnosis, it was also getting her the help that she needed. Now, the challenge was going through so many specialists in Nigeria. We knew that the expertise was not here. And when we got to the US, even the doctors, they were making calls to Nigeria trying to figure out how do we get the exact intervention our daughter would need to be able to thrive and get the help she needs. So coming back to Nigeria was quite a tough one for us that year. And it was during those 4 years of going through different specialists, again, still trying to get intervention, changing schools multiple times, that eventually I decided to go and get trained as a behavior therapist to be able to get my daughter the help she needed. So I'm thinking, if we can't get the help here, then I need to train and know what I need to do to help her. So in 2019, this was a year after my brother passed away, we went back to the United States for my brother's 1-year memorial. And during that trip, I studied and I took the exams, and I passed the US board exams as a registered behavior technician to support children or individuals affected by autism and developmental delays. This was the start of many great things, because then I was able to understand, what my daughter needed, how I could support her. And during this period, we grew a circle of friends, and we started to meet other families who had similar challenges, didn't know where to go, couldn't get the help they needed here in Nigeria. And if they did, it was just a small circle of very few specialists that we were able to refer them to. Another challenge for many of these families was the cost of intervention. Most people don't know this, but autism is a lifetime condition. While most people do get better, they are going to need a lot of support most of their lives. So during the pandemic, we experienced even greater challenges with trying to get, specialists to come into our home with all the restrictions, and the lack of socialization. And it was during this period that I believe that God really opened my heart, and I said, how is it that in an age of technology, we cannot speak to a doctor even though we are at home? And, the whole world of telemedicine was opening up, and I researched, looked for a lot of telemedicine specialists in Nigeria, and realized that very few of them, either telemedicine companies or insurance companies, did not even cover autism or a lot of developmental delays. And so children affected by these delays usually have very little care. Insurance doesn't cover it. Hospitals don't have the skills to help them. And it was during that time I started to think that there's got to be a solution. And I remember sitting down during that period of the pandemic, and I started writing ideas, thinking through, will this be a forum that I create? Is this a group that meets regularly? Do we do this over the phone? Is this a Zoom call? And through all of this period, by 2021, an idea was born. Through all my sketches and ideation, I realized that I could create a telehealth company that was focused on autism and development delays for children affected by it, and also for mental health. And in that way, I could be meeting a need, not just for my daughter, but for all the families I was meeting with similar stories. And the great thing about technology is it closed the gap. So it meant that even doctors who were in the US, in the UK, in Dubai, in whatever part of the world, could consult with patients in Nigeria. And so, again, 2021, the idea of my company was born. 2022, I took the plunge, I registered the company, and I started building with every little resource I had. And we eventually launched October of 2022. And then, fast forward today, where is that company? So that company today is closing the gaps by increasing access to specialists through remote consultations, telediagnosis, teletherapy, and telemonitoring. We're currently offering access to 60 plus mental and behavioral specialties within a network of over 100 specialists. We just signed an exclusive agreement with a major global autism organization to bring a digital screening tool to help screen more children in Nigeria for autism and other developmental delays. We also own the only license in sub-Saharan Africa for the MChat screening tool, which is a global standard for screening autism in the world. We've also partnered with other specialists to support families with general mental and behavioral wellness. And all of this done within the space of a year and counting. Again, none of this would be possible without technology, being able to impact and reach more people through my own personal struggle. As women, I encourage us all to adopt the Proverbs 31 mindset, which is she surveys a field and acquires it from her own resources. She plants a vineyard. She works energetically. Her arms are powerful. Women, we are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world. This is what Hillary Clinton says, and I completely agree with her. And Sandra Seeley says, that is why it is imperative for women not just to be the ones dusting off the table, be homemakers, but crafting its legs for our world to stand on. So again, I just want to thank you all for listening. I really hope that this has been helpful. I hope that it inspires, every one of you as women. So be well. Take care. Bye.